Hi everyone. Today is day after some long weekend celebration, and the topic of this video is actually how to deal with racist people. If you're dealing with racism, first of all, you can't focus your energy on what the person provoking the racism wants. Um, Racism is very psychological. It's very spiritual, and it's very debilitating. So if you've actually gone through an experience of racism, what you have to do is, for example, we don't have to be told, "Oh, this is how it is," but for us, it's very strange because it's a very disgusting practice of what some may understand in sort of their realities, humanity. So we're human, we don't do these kinds of things. And, one way to sort of put things into perspective is to also address it, but people who have a problem with racism, like there's Caucasians, there's even black racists, you have racists from Asia, China, India, like there's all these different nationalities. You even have like people who have this sort of you know thinking that some are superior and some are inferior. So one way to actually deal with racism is to just think of these individuals as not having flexible thinking, and take it from that positionality and say, okay, you know what, this person is really fucked up. They don't even have the capacity to even check themselves to see that what they're doing is actually not even right. So um, you also have to separate um, your public life and your private life. And racism is so not cool because it hurts. And when you've been racially profiled, that stuff isn't funny, but also being called sort of nigger. Um, I remember back in, like, when I was smaller and stuff in West Canada, um, you know, that actually didn't hurt me. I looked at the person and I said to myself, that's a very mean person. And I went up to them and I said, what the fuck did you call me? And they said it. So there was an altercation, and you know, the person actually started something, and you know, after that, I was like, it was actually a person who, as I was young, I used to, play with them or whatever, and they had the audacity to call me nigger. So, you know, what was really interesting was that even I saw this person years later, and they were actually dating a black male that I knew from sports. And, I was going to go up to him and say, I'm really surprised that you're even fucking something like that. Because you know what that bitch did was she actually called me a nigger, right? And, I felt really bad for this guy because he was a boxer. But then I said to myself, you know what? Let him learn for himself. And he used to always come over to me and tell me I was beautiful and all this. And, I just said, there's just no way I could even touch this guy. Because you know what? Racism is just so hurtful, but it's also very strengthening because it has actually disciplined me. Because, for example, poverty is fueled by racism. Consumption, wars, that's all fueled by racism. So, I look at little things and I learn things here along the way, and then I, curb my habits. See, you people, some of you into like this cell phone culture stuff, you guys are really fucking stupid, let me tell you, because if you knew behind the scenes stuff, we wouldn't even be supporting anything called a cell phone and all of this technological development, because all this so-called engineering, it's not benefiting us, it's actually hurting our diaspora regions in, for example, Congo, around the mining of coltan. So when you're dealing with, situations that are classified as racist or racism or, violence, because racism is violence, um, what you have to do is find a way to actually channel your energies. And I find that sport is an excellent, excellent way to balance perspectives in life. And also think of them as people that don't have flexible thinking. They've actually been socialized that way. So how would you even deal with this thing? And deal with it in your way, but don't let this thing get to you. Um, for example, I have some videos about racial profiling related to medicine, and people are very, very scared to even talk about medicine because a lot of people don't even understand the language. And when you actually look into the logic of medicine, especially the way that Caucasians wrote medicine, there's no logic, and it's very, very, very hurtful. So, um, you know, just talk about racism, but also, you know, uh, come up with some flexible ways to enrich you. Don't flail your hand, don't, get excited and stuff, because even like, you look at some of my comments, people leave these comments and, others may think, oh my God, that's just so disrespectful. And I notice people like mark it so that it hides it, and I unhide it because you know what, you have to show the ignorance out there. And you look at that and say, why the fuck would I even deal with something like that? So racist people don't have flexible thinking, and create a separation between your public life and your private life. And don't smile with these people. Don't even collaborate with them in ways where they want to be your friend, because you know what, it's very spiritual as well, and I'm a non-religion person. And if someone has it within them, in their core, to do very mean things to get attention, then you know what, you gotta say fuck them. And you know um, you know it's very sad that we're actually still talking about this stuff, but for the people even trying to learn about racism, thank you for your comments and your videos, and or watching the videos or whatever. But you also have to realize that if you look around where you are and you don't see the world, then something is wrong. And you know racism is very systemic, and you have to look at like social systems contributing to racist behaviors and practices. Just the other day, I was looking at. I'm in a demographic in the global north where I saw the front of this newspaper, and it's considered kind of a tabloid newspaper, but I really like the way they write sometimes because they're very frank, but I find them very offensive at other times. And there's a bunch of these teachers that are protesting or whatever. And I looked in the front page and it was all Caucasians. And I thought to myself, that's exactly why they need to shut down, like just dissolve this whole union culture. Because if you're only employing teachers that look like, the thing oppressing us, then you know what? Something is wrong with the system. So, racist people, they don't have flexible thinking. And a racist structure can be re-engineered with your ideas. So don't let this stuff get you down, but be proactive. If you go through a racist experience, like for example, some people, they have experiences where, what do you call it? They'll be driving and then they get stopped for whatever reason. It's very, very, it draws a lot of emotions from you, but you know how you process that? Process that with a complaint. Send your little letter away to wherever. And I've done that before. I tend to write a lot of letters, and I've even gotten responses back to say, oh well, for whatever reason, there's nothing there. But one day, somebody's actually going to draw from that data and say, you know what, this is a really fucked up system. So, still do what you can, but don't let this thing get you down. Racist people do not have flexible thinking, and you have to look at the infrastructure that actually perpetuates racism, and it comes in so many different forms, like school and books and TV and film and clothing and, even consumption habits, um, you know, fuel these racist practices. And racism is not necessarily a black-white problem, but you have, for example, the whiteness dichotomy or whiteness model. I should say the whiteness model. And that has actually been infiltrated into the consciousness of a lot of different ethnic groups. So you have, like, the black racists and the Pakistani racists and the Chinese racists and the racist that doesn't like another white person because they have red hair or whatever. So it's very sad, but don't let it get you down. Actually, process your feelings, get involved with sport, like just find some way to channel the energy, and you know what, have the courage to actually sit down and be proactive. So for me, I'll write a letter, and it's very, very painful to even feel that stuff. Like, I just look at the piece of paper and, like, you know what, I look at the address and I'm like, you know what, this just makes me fucking sick. But you know what? Take your time to deal with it, and deal with it at your pace. And just fire off a letter. And, do a little complaint. You know, they come to you, they want to sell you a cell phone, say no thanks, not interested. Why are you not interested? Why is why even a question? Like, you got to be up in their faces as well. Or you could do things differently and say, you know what, you just need to be respectful to people. So decide what works for you, but just understand that racist people do not have flexible thinking. And, when you're dealing with this thing that has no flexible thinking, then you have to decide what you need to do. Thanks for watching.